Hey guys, Mitch from Swap Time. Got an update on the truck. I got new mounts cut out. These hold the ECU and busman panel, and I have a separate mount if you want to kind of remote mount the busman panel in a different spot. This is one of the options. This bracket comes off and you can bend it however you need to mount it. And it has a couple tabs here that holds it. Then there's basically like a dowel rod I use to support this end of it, but it's super solid. And I'll include these on all the kits. I was going to practice doing another video today. I got the truck running really well. There's the cooling fans, 2016 Camaro SS fan. Brushless outrunner motor, very, very powerful. It's really cool. There's no relays on it. You just have this connector right here. You got power and ground that run directly to the battery here, and one signal wire that goes to Gen 5 computer. I raised up the truck because it is setting too low. I was having all sorts of issues with rubbing and pretty made it impossible to drive safely. So it has drop spindles. I put basically I removed the cut coil springs up front and put factory Moog springs back in it, so it gave me a nice safe ride height there. The back had a flip kit, so I had to flip it back up so it was super high, and then I got a drop shackle, dropped it 2 inches. Really, it needs to come down at least another inch and a half. So that's on my to-do list. I got my Boyd's welding tank mocked up. Got it bolted there and a self-tapper on that side. The tank's completely empty. I was just hoping it all fit and everything would clear, because my GM fuel pump sets on top of the tank, basically, the cinder. So it's about 2 inches or 3 inches high above the top of the tank. So I assumed, it hit the bed, but it cleared perfectly. So that's good. So now I need to cut a hole for my bed fill, get that set up, run a fuel line up front, and do the evap system. So I'll do that this upcoming week. And this will be fully PWM controlled, just like factory. So it has an LT1 fuel pump in it, and it's going to run directly to my fuel pressure control module, which is all hooked up. I'm doing some testing with the BCM. For some reason, tap shift is not working on this. I think it's because when you put it in manual mode, which is the right pass drive on your gear select, I don't think I have enough throw. I don't think it's getting fully into manual mode. So I need to lengthen the lever. Oh, it's a bit cold today. Alright, let's go for a test ride. Got a new camera, and it's like a GoPro style camera, so see how that does recording. 55 degrees on the coolant temp. Cool. Let's go take it for a test ride. Hopefully the audio is not terrible on this. We'll find out. I got a microphone coming in a few days. I'll wear it on my shirt. That way you hear my voice clearly. I already got new headlights installed on this. Got them off Amazon. I got LED headlights for $100 and installed them a few days ago. I'm testing them. I tested them last night. Really good output. really happy with the LED lights. The factory lights in this, you know, they're really old. They're completely yellow. I had no idea if they were on or off at night. They're that bad. I had to use high beams just to be able to see something. So pretty unsafe. And now I got the LEDs. And super bright, good dispersion. That's one of the upgrades I always do on older vehicles, is upgrade the headlights, like one of the first things I do. Because I'll drive these at night, and it's just really unsafe not being able to see very well. And these have a little bit of a modern look to them. When I go back out, I'll show them. They're used mostly on Jeeps, and they were like $500. That was the original design, and eventually Chinese knocked them off. And they work really nice. The bad thing is they're not durable, the ones I got. Of course, they're only $100 for a pair. The material is probably plexiglass and not actual glass. So they were just scratching from me wiping them with a microfiber towel. Did not look very good. But you can't tell unless you're looking at it very close. But the more you drive your vehicle, the more rock chips and things like that will hit the headlights, and they're not going to last forever. But for $100, I think they're worth it. Got this shifting really nice. There's so much tuning you can do in these transmissions. I had it shifting pretty hard, pretty fast, which was fun, but I wanted to kind of get more back to stock, and now it's just real gentle at light throttle, and it's just a pleasure to drive. I got the stage 2 cam really dialed in. I have it idling at about 700 RPM. It seems to be pretty happy. Really powerful now. After messing with I was trying some new ideas on tuning, and I started messing with the fuel injection timing side of things, which I've never done before, because I understand the basic concept of how it works, but not exactly how to tune it. It's such a precise measurement. It's supposed to inject at that exact moment with a certain amount of fuel. I really never wanted to mess with it. But I was just having all these weird issues and things like that, so I started messing with it, and it made a dramatic difference. It's real smooth, and when you get on throttle, you can just hear the exhaust get much louder. You just hear the power it's making. Before it get louder, but not as loud as it does now, and it just really puts you in the seat really easily. Excited to get this new fuel system working, because I think this is the way to go, is just to use a factory fuel pump, factory fuel controller. And you'll just have a really reliable system that way. And even your fuel sender, it's all, of course, built into the fuel pump. All that will work from factory. So your fuel level you won't have to mess with. And the computer likes to know how much fuel you have on, how much it has in it. That way when it's full, it knows to reset the fuel trims and things like that. But I have been testing without using the fuel pressure control module, but I monitor the low pressure of fuel. Because there's a debate, GM says you need 75 pounds of pressure if you don't have a fuel controller. And my theory is I don't believe you need that, because if an LS style system works at 57 pounds of pressure, and I use that in a Gen 5 swap, if I floor it and it still holds 57 pounds of pressure, I don't understand what the problem would be, because that gives you enough flow to support direct injection. The direct injection just wants to make sure you have enough fuel to get to it. And from what I've seen I'm not losing fuel pressure, even with a cheap $50 fuel pump from Amazon. It's working fine. Man, this thing's fast. It's a little 5.3. It just screams. I just don't think, with all my testing, a Gen 4 5.3 will accelerate like that. With a small, like, this is a stage 2 cam, it's not too big or anything. And it just flat out gets it. I need to look up what Texas Speed was showing on the cam chart for the 5.3. But I believe they were making 480 engine horsepower at the flywheel with this cam. But I know they would have used long tube headers. I don't know what intake they used. But that's almost 500 flywheel horsepower. That's really good. This feels like probably 380, 390 to the wheels. Which is great because the factory horsepower rating on this and the flywheel is 355. And it drives nice. The 6L80E, you floor it, drops 2-3 gears, and it starts spinning the tire. Can't wait to say start spinning the tires. Just gotta get the Posi unit. That's one of my next big purchases. It's just on the list to do, but I don't have too much more to do this truck. I put the Posi unit in it. I do want to put an 8-speed 8L90 in it. I worked out a deal with a gentleman. I'm trading him a low mile 6L80 for an 8L90. On 5.3s with the 8 speeds, they were not working well at all, and we're still doing testing on them to get them to work, because the 5.3 with the 8-speed combination was, as far as I know, only really offered in 2016. In 2016 computers, you know, with the 2016 operating system, they do not make power. Like, you can barely drive your vehicle not making power. All 2016 controllers have done that to me. And I've tried all the tricks I've known, and they just don't make power. The throttle bodies really refuse to open up to allow it to make power. And all the tips and tricks that normally fix that issue no problem do not work. So that's been frustrating. With the 5.3 8-speed combo we have at Motec, I have that one working really well, but I've only driven it a couple times, so I got to dial it in. But I had to use a different operating system, a different transmission controller. They weren't matched, so I don't know if it's a good way to go yet. So I'd like to do the 8-speed on mine and test it, especially the cam. That changes everything. So cool. I love this engine. Sounds so different. Never heard anything like it. With the Black Widow mufflers. I believe that's what they were called. They were terrible. Way too loud. I mean, it sounded awesome. It sounded like a race car, but it was like that all the time. It was louder than open exhaust. It's embarrassing to drive. These are full length, like the longest MagnaFlows I could find, that the exhaust shop had, where they could order in to quiet it down as much as possible. And I'm running cast iron manifolds. If I was running headers, goodness, it'd be really loud. And we did do a 96 Impala with a 5.3 with the stage 2 cam, and it has headers. And They're I think a mid-link header. I'm not sure who makes them. I need to find out because they fit the swap well, and that car sounds really good. He's running Magnaflow mufflers. I really like the way it sounded. The headers did make it sound even better. That one was a 2017 drivetrain. So I've been doing more and more of the 17s, and I'm starting to support those with mail orders and things like that. Before, I didn't like to support them because the 16 controllers didn't work. The 17s cost twice as much to get licensing fees to unlock the controllers. And the harnesses are wired a little different. So it took me a little bit to get one to test, because before I take a 17 harness and retrofit it, make it a 15 or 16 style harness and use the 15 computers, I knew that would work. And now I've done 2 to 3 17s, and surprisingly they've worked fine. I thought they'd be in limp mode just like the other ones were. That'll hopefully be my next video, is reviewing that 96 Impala. It's super cool. Only problem is the rear suspension is a little janky. I guess it's setting too low, so they put some spacers like in the coils themselves, and it feels weird. It doesn't feel right. Drives so easy, so nice, shifts great. I'm excited to like replicate this for all the guys wanting to do this. So I know there's companies out there making harnesses and things like that. A lot of them are from scratch and things like that, but they don't test. They don't do all the testing like I do. I know some companies won't even sell a computer to them, calibrated, because they don't know how to make it work. They can replicate a harness, but it doesn't do you any good if the controller doesn't work, because it's going to be a reduced power all the time, and they don't know, what fuel system you should do to suit your style vehicle. Like if you're running a supercharged Gen 5 engine, I would say you have to have a fuel pressure control module. Because what's cool about it is that with the fuel pressure control module, when you drive your vehicle, and just like I'm driving now, just putting along, it's only making 42 to 47 pounds of pressure, because you just don't need all the flow, because you're making 100 horsepower, because you're just putting around. Then as soon as you floor it, the fuel pressure immediately changes, and it's requesting 74, I believe, 75 pounds of pressure. So that's a lot more flow you're going to get to support that power. And by it working that way is amazing, because you're not going to overheat your fuel system, have vapor lock issues, because when you make a lot of power, you got to have a fuel pump to support it. And if you have it set to kill mode all the time, it's going to wear out the pump, your fuel's going to get hot. It's just not a good thing. So some companies have come out with like voltage boosters and things like that to kind of help, but the fuel pressure control modules from factory work as we need them to work, where it just gives us all the extra pressure at wide open throttle when we need it. When we're driving around, you're not making much power, you don't need all that. And then for fuel pumps, just use a factory OEM fuel pump, so they're very reliable. The LC4 pumps, not too expensive in the scheme of things. I think they're $350 from GM, but that pump supports 800 horsepower, and it's going to support it for a very long time. It can last 100,000 miles, and that's what I like to do. I want to make things as reliable and have the longevity just like OEM. Because I really don't like working on my truck that much. I just wanted to do it once and drive it and kind of forget about it. And I had a Gen 3 engine in my 68 C10, and I was gone for a month. Came back to start it, turned the key, and fired right up. Like, it was so nice having to do that. Where carbureted or some things like that, sometimes the fuel starts messing up your fuel system and clogs passages. These just work. But they can also be a nightmare. I deal with that all the time. When you first do your swap, if you don't have a good game plan ahead of time, you'll have all sorts of problems, and usually it's the fuel system. The fuel system will cause most of the nightmares. So you use an OEM pump, OEM controller, OEM sensors, route everything nice, protect the wiring. It's going to last basically forever. And try to use even OEM style fuel lines. Use a hard line, then use the Dorman nylon lines. They're not going to rot away. They're very affordable to use. I've used, some stuff from Summit, the braided hose for fuel lines. Then you can actually smell fuel sometimes emanate through the hoses. That's terrible. It stinks up your garage. I think now they have fuel lines that are coated on the inside with special lining and things like that, but they're very expensive. Where a Dorman nylon fuel line is, I think for 10 feet it's like $12. So you get 20 feet of line, $25, and then you get some connectors, you're into your fuel lines for about $40-$45. That's pretty cheap. You have to buy any of these billet fittings and things like that. And then just make sure you mount everything nice where it can't vibrate. And then I put loom over the fuel line, just like I use on the certain parts of the harness. That will protect it from some heat, and it's going to rub the loom first and not the line.